Ready. Play.
Well, hello there. Did you miss me? Yes, it is the WTA Power Rankings for Talking Tennis. The only YouTube channel that I'm aware of that does a WTA Power Ranking before every major tennis tournament. I have an interesting track record when it comes to power rankings. I like to say that every champion that we've had so far has been on my long list, but obviously not always making the short list. And the short list is just 10 names. But how I've worked it out this time is it's a combination of looking at US hard court results, or North American, if you want to be really pedantic about it. Apologies to Canadians for just waving away your country. I would like, so we're looking at those, but it won't just be from Canada and Cincinnati. It will also be from Indian Wells and Miami, because we've seen in recent years those tournaments are actually very, very relevant when looking at US Open form. We'll also be looking at the major. I've also looked at major results and taken those into account. So Australian Open, Roland Garros, and Wimbledon, as quite often they're a good sign of who's got good momentum, and someone getting at least the semi-finals of a major usually gets to at least the semi-finals of the US Open in the same season. There was a couple of other things in the mix there. So having a look at a combination of those results gave me, as well as US Open history, gave me a list of about 22 names, which I have whittled down to 10. Before I give you my top 10, I'm just going to do a few quick honorable mentions. So just names to keep an eye out for, likely to make the second week, could go for a deep run, but the reason they're not in the top 10 is because the likelihood is a little bit lower. But even if they don't make the top 10, I would say keep an eye on them, just because they're probably going to give you a bit of entertainment. These are people like Belinda Bencic and Victoria Azarenka, who have a prior great record at New York. Azarenka making the final 3 times in her career. Bencic getting to the quarterfinals 3 times, semi-final once. So we've got to keep an eye out for them. Beatrice Haddad-Maia is a name we need to make sure that we don't ignore. Former champions Venus Williams and Bianca Andreescu, 16-year-old sensation Mira Andreeva, a couple of players maybe on the verge of a breakthrough like Marie Bushkova or even Jasmine Paolini are names to keep an eye out for. I would say the names that came the closest to breaking into my top 10 were Petra Kvitova, the Miami champion. She seems to have gone a little bit off the boil at the minute, but that could also mean she's primed for a US Open run. She does have one or two good tournaments in her this year, a year, although she has won Miami and Berlin, so maybe that's a lot. Sloane Stephens, the 2017 champion, I think prior experience has shown that she tends to hit a ceiling against the top players. But there's something about her results recently, particularly in the US hard courts, that's making me think maybe there's something special brewing. Maybe she's going to remind us how she won that major 6 years ago. And Daria Kasatkina, 2 appearances in the last 16 of the 2 1000s have just gone, and pushing Elena Rybakina pretty hard in one of them, only just missing out on a semi-final opportunity in Canada. So she just misses out on the top 10, but I think keep an eye on her. She seems to like it in North America, and she's got a first round to defend, so not much to lose. Right, I've been talking for 4 minutes. Top 10, let's go. Number 10. Lyudmila Samsonova, here purely because she reached the final in Montreal. She is also a champion on other US hardcourt events from last year. Does seem to enjoy the conditions that are found in North America. 4th round in New York last year, seemed to falter against Aya Tomjanovic, despite being the favourite in that match. I think a lot of people were kind of surprised that she didn't do better. I remember Jack Edward going very all in on her that tournament. But there's no reason to suggest she can't be a dark horse contender at this year's US Open. Definitely, I think if she's confident, she will probably make the second week. I could see a quarterfinal, maybe even a semi-final stretch, depending on her draw. Okay, so that's number 10. Number 9, Maria Sakkari. It's going to surprise a few people on this list, but I think what you have to bear in mind is Sakkari did really, really well in one of the 2 tournaments at the beginning of the year. I believe it was Indian Wells semi-final against Sabalenka. And then she got another good result. She's had a couple of solid results on the in Montreal and Cincinnati. And what that tells me is that she's got a good chance of playing a strong enough level of tennis to get to the second week of the US Open. She also really likes it in New York. She's had a couple of deep runs there before, semi-finalists in 2021. I don't see a reason why, if she had a really, really good day, she could pull off an upset against someone else on this list and make the semis. I don't see her winning the tournament. I don't see her making the final, but I think that she could still have a very, very good, very positive couple of weeks. And maybe I'm being overly harsh by saying that, but we'll see. Sakkari definitely has a ceiling, but I think she likes New York enough that she can pull off a couple of good results here. Starting on Monday. Number 8, Ons Jabeur, Wimbledon runner-up. Now, we had some questions about Jabeur after Wimbledon. How was she going to take that really tough loss that she suffered at the hands of Marketa Vondrousova, where she went to break up in the first set and then it all fell to pieces from there. The nerves got to her a bit. But she showed in Cincinnati that fight's still there. She came from 1-5 down to win her opening match. She really took it to Sabalenka in that first set of their encounter before kind of injury took hold. I think she'll have enough time to recover and be in decent condition for New York. And I think she's got a lot of fight in her. She's a runner-up from last year. What this means, I'm not sure. I do think that she doesn't have as good a chance compared to, well, everyone else above her on the list, but I think she's going to go out there with a lot of determination, a lot of fight, and I think she's going to be very, very hard to beat in New York, which is why she's in the top 10. Number 7, from the Wimbledon runner-up to the Wimbledon champion, Marketa Vondrousova. Marketa Vondrousova backing up that Wimbledon result with last 16 in Montreal, quarterfinal in Cincinnati, and showing that Wimbledon run wasn't a fluke. She's definitely she's got herself up to number 9 in the world now. She's beating players that she should be with that ranking, and frankly, she's only losing to players that were having really, really good weeks. She lost to Iga in what was a tough match in Cincinnati, and she lost to Coco Gauff, who's been having a great few weeks in Montreal. So, she's only really losing to in-form players at the minute and very strong players. So again, with a positive draw, she's number 9 seed. If she comes up against maybe someone like a Caroline Garcia, maybe even Maria Sakkari, as kind of the quarterfinal seed, if you will, in her section, she's got a very good chance of making at least the quarters here. It is going to be draw dependent how far she can get, but if we look at sort of the furthest possible she can get, quarterfinals, very much a possibility. I would say dark horse for the semis. Number 6, another Czech, Karolina Muchova. Muchova, Cincinnati finalist, had some great results, beat Sabalenka again. A lot of people were talking about Sabalenka having a semi-final problem. I'm wondering if she just has a Muchova problem. Mukova definitely showing all the talent that we've missed out on over the last couple of years with her being injured. And I reckon that she's going to be going into the US Open with a lot of confidence. And I think that there's going to be very few players who can kind of live with her determination, her variety, and her tennis brain, if you will. So, yeah, I think she's top 10 again. She's still top 10. So very similar to Vondrousova. But I'm slightly more confident of Mukova pulling off an upset than Vondrousova, which is what puts her at number 6. Number 5, I may be underranking her. Jessica Pegula, the Montreal champion. I was going back and forth between her and number 4. You've probably worked out how number 4 is. I think we're now into the list of sort of almost genuine, like, hey, I could see him winning it. It's not like, I mean, I could see Mukova maybe winning the US Open, maybe even Vondrousova if everything fell apart, but or Jabeur. But sort of those 3 players are the, well, if things go their way, they might win it. Pegula's the first one I could see maybe forcing the issue. Does depend on the draw, does depend on who's left. But she's had a very good couple of weeks. I think she ran out of gas a little bit in Cincinnati, which is why she didn't do as well as she did in Montreal. But last 16 there was enough to sort of set her apart from some of the others. Beat Coco Gauff, beat Swiatek to win Montreal. Had an amazing week there. And we know that her sort of base level is so strong. She should beat most of the players on tour, except for, and really it's the ones sort of up there with her in the rankings that she's tended to struggle with, but maybe she's going to do that less. So Pegula's going to be one to watch, I would say. Definitely going to be nice for her to be the home favourite. Number 4, Coco Gauff. Coco Gauff this North American hardcourt season won Washington, quarterfinals in Montreal, won Cincinnati. Lost to Pegula in Montreal in a very tight 3-set match. It was 7-5 in the decider. And maybe in some ways it was the perfect one for Cincinnati in sort of going toe-to-toe with another top player. Another one that she has a bit of a matchup problem with in Swiatek. And that was a very, very good win for Gauff to beat Swiatek the way she did, fending off the comeback. Swiatek wasn't exactly having the worst day ever. I don't think she was Swiatek at her best, but I don't think she was that far off her best. I think Gauff has taken a noticeable step up. She's found a way to make that forehand work thanks to Brad Gilbert. So I am somewhat more confident in Gauff taking down the top 3 on this list potentially than Pegula. It's only slight, but it's enough to put Gauff at number 4. And also something to bear in mind: the US Open tends to be a place where people have breakout wins. Okay, not so much with Iga last year, but she was a new name for a lot of Americans. She was still 21. It was unusual for a player of her age to have as much success as she did by that age. But you look at other titleists like the teenagers Andreescu and Raducanu, and Osaka winning twice, aged 20 and then 22. I think if Gauff is going to have a breakout title, a major title, it's going to be here or Roland Garros. And maybe there's something about being a young star that lends the US Open to being the place. Number 3, Elena Rybakina. I've been watching some of the discussions on the show. I know that John doesn't think necessarily that Elena should be at number 3 at the minute. Or that there's question marks on whether Elena should be number 3, maybe Gauff or Pegula could be ahead. I can see why. Since that virus in Roland Garros, she's not looked as strong on paper. But here's what I will say. She lost a very tight match to Ons Jabeur, who was playing amazingly at Wimbledon. She ran out of gas in Montreal, not because of illness, because she was recovering from a late night finish against Kasatkina. And I think that was still hitting her in Cincinnati. She's had time to recover. She's the Indian Wells champion. The last few years, when the Indian Wells has been in March, the last 3 times Indian Wells has been in March, the champions won the US Open. Now that's good momentum. That's a good sign for Elena Rybakina. I think she really likes these hardcore conditions. I would say she might actually be going deeper in big events more consistently than Swiatek and Sabalenka, or just as consistently. I think when you look at these results, I think Rybakina is still very, very dangerous. I would back her to beat a sort of healthy, firing Rybakina to beat everyone already mentioned on this list. I would also back her to potentially beat the top 2 on this list, but because of these question marks around the injuries, because maybe her US Open history is not as strong, it just drags her down a little bit compared to the top 2. But it's very, very fine margins. If Elena Rybakina is holding the trophy on Saturday evening, on the second Saturday after the final, I don't think that would be a surprise to me. It also wouldn't be a surprise for number 2 on this list to be crowned the US Open champion, Aryna Sabalenka. I think a lot of people were backing Sabalenka to win the US Open after she won in Australia. She's also won it. She got to the Indian Wells final. She won Madrid, semi-finals in Roland Garros and Wimbledon. By that logic, she should get to at least the semi-finals of New York, where she's been in semi-finals the last couple of years and lost in 3 sets, both times. Once to Fernandez, once to Swiatek. Surely it's time for a breakthrough. But there's some signs maybe she's coming off the gas a little bit. I was a little bit surprised lost to Sam Sonderman in Montreal. Little bit of a error-prone loss to Mukova in Cincinnati. There are cracks starting to appear in Sabalenka. Not enough for me to definitively rule her out or anything like that. She's still number 2 in this list. I think she's almost joint favourite for the title in many ways. But I think one thing has made the difference, and I'm going to talk about it when I mention the number 1, because I believe the number 1 favourite is Iga Swiatek. I know the last couple of power rankings I've done, I've gone for the defending champion. I went for Swiatek at number 1 at Roland Garros. I went for Rybakina to be number 1 at Wimbledon. It wasn't the deciding factor in those cases, and it wasn't supposed to be here either. I don't think a lot of people were expecting necessarily Swiatek to defend her title. Here's a couple of things that I think are really going in her favour. She reached the semi-finals of 2 1,000 tournaments, playing not her best tennis. She really scrapped her way through those 2 draws, and she beat some pretty good players. She beat Mukova. She beat Collins twice. She's beaten Pliskova. She beat Vondrousova in the quarters in Cincinnati. And she should have won against Pegula in Montreal, arguably. I think she lost concentration. I think Gauff was just having a very, very good day, but Swiatek could could very well have come back and broken back Gauff in that deciding set and taken over the match. It was that close. 2 semi-finals coming off it, not quite playing her best. That's better than last year. And actually on WTA Weekly on Monday, Nerlan, who is often in chat, hi Nerlan if you're watching, did point out that she is on a sequence of events where she will win every third event. And when he mentioned that, I was like, or they mentioned that, I was like, oh yeah, absolutely right, because it went United Cup, Australia, won Doha, final in Dubai, semi-finals in Indian Wells, won Stuttgart, final in Madrid, quarterfinals in Rome, won Roland Garros, semi-finals in Bad Homburg, quarterfinals at Wimbledon, won in Warsaw, and then now semi-final, maybe the US Open title. And we know that she overcame potentially not ideal conditions for her to win last year. Maybe things are better. Maybe she'll be more confident. Maybe she can scrap her way to another US Open title. I certainly think she's going to get to at least the semi-finals, at least the quarterfinals. I do not think many other players in that draw. It's going to depend on the draw a little bit, but there are plenty of players in the draw who can beat Swiatek. Most of the players on this list can beat Swiatek, if not all. But if you were to ask me which is more likely to happen, I'd give Iga the 60-40 edge over every single person on this list. It's going to come down to whatever happens on the day. So for that reason, Iga Swiatek is my number one. So to recap, top 10. Number 10, Lyudmila Samsonova. Number 9, Maria Sakkari. Number 8, Ons Jabeur. Number 7, Makata Vondrousova. Number 6, Karolina Muchova. Number 5 is Jessica Pegula. Number 4, Coco Gauff. Number 3, Elena Rybakina. Number 2, Aryna Sabalenka. And number 1, Iga Swiatek. I'm looking forward to being back with the Talking Tennis team this US Open. I've needed this break, but I'm looking forward to coming back and chatting with everyone again. I've missed so many, all of you, Ghost, Jane. I'm looking forward to commentating with Anastasia for the first time. She's been absolutely brilliant. But yeah, it's been it's going to be great to see you all again. And I'm very, very excited about what this US Open can bring, because if there's anything that we can guarantee, even if the win is not guaranteed, it's that we're going to be in for some absolutely magnificent tennis. So until I see you soon, keep talking tennis.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.